PC to give me this, especially and Dr. S.K. Gupta to give me this opportunity to express my views on this very pertinent and very relevant aspect which we all, being a citizen irrespective of being a scientist or a planner face today. And though my first slide also talks about, a study by CSA, but before in the morning session there has been many issues which have been raised regarding the data monitoring, and I'm not a technically competent person to comment on it, but I would definitely like to share a personal experience that when I was a young kid, my mother used to take me and my brother to Nehru Planetarium, and when we used to come back, we used to try and identify those astronomical formations in the sky. And now I cannot do the same with my children because you cannot see stars in Delhi in night because of the pollution. So definitely the pollution levels have risen, and it is an issue that it's a challenge. I mean, there are many environmental issues, but air pollution is one of the critical issues or challenge which is being faced by the Indian cities. If we look into the urbanization trend of India, then we find that post-independence, the urban population has been increasing, and as per the census 2011, the census population was 31.6%, and for the first time after independence, there has been higher increase in the absolute population of urban areas as compared to the rural areas. And and we also need to look at the projections by the United Nations of 211, which indicate that in the next 30 years, India's population, or urban population, is going to increase by 497 million, which is virtually double of 1.5 times of what we have currently. So therefore, there is still a lot of urbanization which is going to still happen, and there is a very critical role that India's urban areas are going to play in the future air pollution management strategies. If you look at the international scenario, air pollution, as we all know, is a global phenomena, and many cities across the world have, whether the developed countries have also faced a similar situation and problems regarding air pollution. But I would like to share this study, this is a map which is based on the 2013 satellite image, and this indicates that after comparing the decadal pollution data for different countries globally, then you would find that in the North America and the Europe have considerably reduced their air pollution, and whereas the pollution in Asia is on an increasing trend. And another study by the University of Bremen in Germany, which looks specifically into the nitrogen dioxide trends of the last 15 years of various cities, indicate that cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Athens, all of these cities have been able to reduce their NO2 levels, and whereas cities in Asia like Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai and Dhaka, other, cities, there has been an upward trend. So this sort of indicates that, on one hand, there are cities which are bringing down the pollution by using various measures and strategies, and whereas in Asia region, we are on the increase, where air pollution is concerned. Just to sort of understand how different cities have addressed this issue of air pollution, I have selected 3 cities, that is New York, Mexico and Beijing, and I just wanted to sort of understand that what are the initiatives which have been taken for these cities to address the air pollution problem. The first city selected is the New York City of United States of America. It is having a population of about 8.4 million, and it is having an area of about 1200 square kilometer and a density of about 7,000 people per square kilometer. So there has been many initiatives which have been adopted by the city, the predominant being the change in the heating oil which they had used at the building level. And also New York is one city where the mayor of the city, Michael Bloomberg, has come out with this PLA NYC 2030, which is his first sustainability plan, in which there are measures, for improving the local air quality. So there is a whole list of measures. I will not go into the detail, but I would like to share this image with you. This image is basically, again, it is studies have indicated that, since 2007, the sulfur dioxide levels have reduced by 69%. The 2.5 particulate matter has been reduced by 27. There has been a decrease recorded in the trends of 23%, and in the NO2 levels there has been a decrease of 32%. And this is again an image which is based on the satellite image, and this is indicating on the left is the 2005 data and on the right is the 2011 data. So one can see that there has been significant decline in the NO2 levels in the city. So it is the point what I want to make here is, yes, with the right strategies and initiative, it is possible to reduce the air pollution. Coming to Mexico, you have a population of about 20 million and an area of about 2,000 square kilometer and a density of about 9,600 people per year. And incidentally, in the 1992, United Nations was reported as one of the most polluted cities, by the UN, this thing. Now, 20 years down the line, in 2013, Mexico has got the Air Quality Leadership Award by the C40 and the Cement City. So again, there has been a series of, initiatives and measures which have been adopted by the city, because they have been able to improve their overall city pollution. And the major initiative which they adopted was that they had this Pro Air program, which has different phases. So the first Pro Air program was launched in 1990, and then subsequently they have this different programs which are very targeted kind of program. And like, for example, the Pro Air 2 was focusing more on the governance framework. It was talking about that how the scientific information needs to be collected, what should be the methodology adopted, what should be the simulation models to be adopted. Then in the third program, there was a focus on enhancing the public transport. And in the fourth program, now it is now targeting the multi-sectoral approach, and also in the previous in the morning sessions, there have been a lot of information which has indicated that people need to be involved. So in the fourth program, they are talking about community participation also. And there has been a series of, environmental outreach and education programs where workshops were held with the people of Mexico to take their input and involve them in the improvement of the quality. These are just some land use planning initiatives by the Mexico City. They have because also, as we've been hearing, that air pollution is a regional problem. In just containing air pollution in a particular area will not be suffice. So they are looking into a regional planning commission, and they're also talking about reserving certain amount of land for you can say mitigation of air pollution. Coming to Beijing, Beijing is having a population of about 21 million and an area of about 3,800 square kilometer and a population density of 5,500 people. Now, Beijing, when they had the Olympic in 2008, then there were a series of, aggressive measures which were adopted by the city to reduce their or improve the air quality, reduce the air pollution. But post Olympic Games, there has been the data indicates that there has been again a rise of pollution in Beijing. And so in 2013, they have announced this initiative of a 5-year plan, which basically looks at, different, what is the kind of energy consumption in the industries. It talks about retrofitting, use of technology for the thermal plants. It talks about restriction in the number of, cars, ownership of car. It talks about, areas under green. And but still, Beijing has a long way to go before it can achieve, a substantial air improvement. What I would like to highlight in the Beijing example is that they're currently working on this concept of urban air corridor. Now, this is a concept which is still under, consideration or still evolution, where they have sort of identified this wide tracts of land, based on a climatic data analysis, what is the prevailing wind direction, and they have identified 6 such corridors, and they want to sort of use or integrate this strategy of urban planning in trying to disperse of the air pollution, from the city. I mean, so this is right now a theoretical concept, and they're still working on it. So this is it. Now coming to Delhi. Delhi, we all know, there has been a tremendous growth and development in Delhi. from 1961, where we had a population of 2.3 million people. Now in 2021 master plan, we are talking about 23 million people. The density has increased from 1500 to 15,000 people. The city size remains the same, but this indicates that there has been a lot of, you can say, densification which has happened, which has taken place in the city. There has been a lot of, built up land intensification which has taken place in the city in the last 50 years, and which is, there has been a change in the economic activities. As a result, there is a increase in the trip length, and which is all adding to the increased mobility needs. And one of the previous speakers have already gone into detail of this trip length, Mr. Sagar, so I will not repeat it. So one can see that a significant amount of development has been taking place in Delhi. And if you look into the air quality initiatives which have been adopted or are in place for the Delhi city, then we have this fuel change. In fact, Delhi was one of the first cities in 2002 to convert all its buses into CNG, and we are talking about phasing out of old vehicles. NGT has given a ruling, and of course it is still in the process of being implemented. Then we are already having Bharat stage 4, is in place from April 2010, and we are also talking about enhancing public transport. So you have the Delhi Metro, which is serving a significant number of people within the city. So these are various measures which have already been sort of incorporated within Delhi's air management and it has led to you can say improvement of the air quality, but yet the air quality is exceeding, especially the SPM and the RSPM are exceeding the requisite ambient standards. So what more can be done? So I would just like to briefly outline 3 strategies which according to me we can do to further improve the air quality in Delhi. The first one being having a regional strategy. Like we are a part of the NCR. There is a lot of intercity movement which is taking place, and we all know that air pollution is not governed by administrative boundaries. There is a need to consider the whole airshed of the regional listing, and then sort of come out, we have to take into account the impact of all the satellite towns which are next to Delhi, because there is a lot of to and fro movement. Though it was visualized that, there will be decentralized economic zones, but it has not worked out like that. There is a lot of movement between the NCR region. So the first and the foremost should be to sort of focus and augment the intercity transport. You need to, though the metro has extended, to Gurgaon and Ghaziabad, there's still a need to emphasize on the linkages more so that one can meet the various mobility requirements. Then also another issue is that, there is a lot of development or densification which has already taken place in Delhi. Now, since 2010, after the Commonwealth Game, it feels as if, the construction has not stopped. There's a flyover work going on, there's metro work going on, and all of these activities do sort of contribute to air pollution. So what one needs to do is that now, since we have the ambient air quality data which is available to us in the public domain, so one can have a zoning map which sort of maps the different zones having different air quality, and then identify the zones which are critical or exceeding the ambient air quality. And in those zones, one should ensure that any new development which is going to come in those areas should be regulated. There is a need for taking into account that what is the kind of assimilative capacity of that air within that zone. So one needs to, you cannot stop development, but before giving approval for any new project, one needs to sort of have a clean air implementation plan in place before an approval for any project is given within that particular critical zone. And lastly, not the least, we should revitalize the urban green corridors in Delhi, because you see, in 1962, the first master plan for Delhi, there was a system of urban greens. There was this whole network which was existing. Now, over a period of time, these networks have become fragmented or deteriorated. So, and Delhi is already one of the green, green, you can say it has having more green area under its land use as compared to many other cities. So there is a need that we sort of look into detailed studies needed to look into these networks of green this thing. And when we're talking, because in the presentation by Mr. Moitra, he had sort of reiterated the role of vegetation in reducing the air pollution. So one needs to, when we're talking about planting million trees, one can look into these networks which are already existing and then sort of implement such strategies. So in the end, I would just like to sort of summarize by saying that what should be the kind of framework for air quality management of cities. So you have this policy, and policy which is a directional this thing. It can be based whether to promote public transport, or you have policy for discouraging private vehicles. So you have this policy in guidelines which are already existing. So one has this policy guidelines, then you have the technology. We are talking about Bharat 5 and other things. We are talking about technology from large point sources. So and of course cost is a big issue, but yes, one already has those technology based measures which are there, and which one is incorporating within the city this thing. And then you have the legislative enforcement. Most of the cities, or in fact all of the cities, do have a legislative and a regulatory framework which is in place, but what is missing is the enforcement of it. So there is a need to enforce the whatever because the context will vary, the technology will vary, the policy will vary. So whatever is your regulatory framework, that needs to be sort of enforced, and then you have the standards and the monitoring. There has been many talks about monitoring, that how we can improve the current monitoring mechanism. And also Dr. Sengupta talked about how in Europe they're talking about particulate 1 size monitoring, even much more superior size pollutants. So these are the things which are already in place. They need to be sort of supplemented with the community participation. And lastly but not the least, the urban planning strategies, which can be like as I indicated, that urban green spaces, regional strategy, urban transport for both intra and intercity. Then also I would like to add, for new developments, one can look into the land use zoning. Land use zoning can be used as a tool for placing sensitive land uses and ensuring that non-compatible land uses are not together, or adequate buffer is given before like for example sensitive land use like school, hospitals, old age homes. So for new development one can consider that. And then for industrial, because industries are very important components, so for industrial siting we can use the concept of land suitability before placing any industrial estate, to ensure that all the climatic and the meteorological information is processed, all the resources are taken into account, so that the impact of the particular industry is minimum in an area. So I would just like to conclude by saying that addressing urban air quality issues effectively requires a holistic and an integrated long-term approach, and this is how one